What's up guys, Phoenix here. This video is going to be a deck profile on a Magician Pendulum deck, and specifically the PePe variant of Magician Pendulums. Now, I've said in the past in some of my duel videos that I did not particularly like the PePe variant because I felt like it was too overly clunky and too overly reliant on cards like Luster Pendulum and things like that. It turns out after doing a bit more testing with the deck, finding a build that I like, which is this one I'm about to show you, and all that nonsense, doing just more testing with it and getting a greater understanding of the deck itself and the plays that you can make. Turns out most of my suspicions were actually just false in terms of you can access a lot of different plays that get Luster Pendulum into circulation and a lot of other different factors that just make this deck really good. And the fact that you get access into all the rank 4s and stuff is just very huge in terms of what you're able to do with this deck. So I've been testing this build, and I really like this specific deck list. I've been playing it a lot over the past week or so, and I basically have just come to the point where I really enjoy playing this deck, and I feel like I have a much better understanding of how to play it, and I'm pretty sure I'm nowhere near the level of understanding that I want to have with this deck because this deck is so non-linear in how it functions, and there's so many different plays that you can have. But I mean, I'm getting closer, and I really like that. I really like the fact that there is a rather large learning curve with this deck of what you can learn and plays that you can make. But anyway, it's a 40 card main deck, triple Skull Crobat Joker because this card searches your Magician Pendulum pieces that you're missing, triple Wisdom Eye because this card is insane. Anytime you open one or two of these with this or a Magician card, like, you just get a free +1 off of that, and that just fuels bigger Pendulum summons later and allows you to have bigger board presence, which is very, very good. And then for the vanilla Pendulums, 2 Pulse and 1 Pit. This is a brick, basically. This is the only one that's really important, but you play this just to be a higher scale, another higher scale, as well as, you know, just to continually fuel with Wisdom Eye and then have a way to grab something off of Pendulum Call, because you have to grab 2 different names. And sometimes if you cycle through all your Wisdom Eyes and you have like just these in deck, like Pendulum Call is still alive. But this is usually just the most important one because it is a 1 scale, meaning that you can have your Lusters in your scale and Plush Fires in scale and stuff like that and still be able to Pendulum out like Wisdom Eyes and things like that. Their effects to pop cards like monsters and spells and traps very rarely comes up, and you very rarely use them. At least I specifically don't, just because I feel like there's usually a better way to allocate that Pendulum monster as a resource into the play that plays through the back row or the monster. But I mean, it's just cool for adding floodgates, and the fact that Pendulum Call and Wisdom Eye just give you access to larger Pendulum summons by themselves just make this deck just really strong, in my opinion. I really just enjoy it. But 1 Gymnite Garnet for the last normal monster in the deck, because I'm running the Brilliant Fusion Engine, because it gives you additional access into cards like Plush Fire, which are definitely cool to have extra. It's definitely cool to have extra copies of your main combo pieces. But I play 10 Clowns, triple Damage Juggler, triple Plush Fire. I play 2 copies of Mirror Conductor simply because, like, I found the second one coming up a lot. A lot of people are only playing 1 of this right now. I play 2 simply because, like, I usually end up having to search one and then also summoning one off of Plush Fire. I want my Plush Fire plays to be a bit more high impact in terms of what I can do. Like, if I've already searched this and put it in a scale, I want to be able to get another one, just in case. And also being able to pop this with a Luster Pendulum to get a +1, and then set up the other one and get this out on field is also just something that comes up. So I feel like it's worth playing 2. And then I play Trick Clown and Hat Tricker, just 1 of each. I think these cards are probably unnecessary, but they're just extra clown names. Because, like, both of these cards, like, they just seem very redundant in what their effects do in the face of the Pendulum mechanic. But I mean, I guess it's really cool if you're able to Pendulum these out and then, like, get Trick Clown's effect to come back, Hat Tricker to soak up the damage from it, and just get free interactions there. It basically, like, makes it to where you Pendulum summoned like 7 monsters if you Pendulum this and have this in hand. Like, if you Pendulum 5 and this is one of them, and then this is in your hand, this replaces itself, making you basically have a 6th monster, and then this is in your hand, meaning you can just drop it for free, making it a 7th. So I guess, like, that's a relevant interaction, but mainly they're just played because they're extra clown names. But honestly, if I could get away with not running them, I definitely would. But Plush Fire is just so powerful of a card that you just kind of have to run those cards, and they do definitely make your hands and plays better when you're not penduluming for massive amounts. But I mean, still, they're just like, I constitute them as like bricks in my eyes, because like they're not pendulums, so they don't like actually attribute anything massive to your combo pieces in the immediate nature that like I would like them to have. But anyway, for tuners, three of the best cards in the deck. Luster Pendulum. This card is insane. This card is nuts. Every hand you open this with a Pendulum monster that you can pop is just usually just a nice swing and advantage, especially if it's like Plush Fire. But even if it's not Plush Fire, if like you're able to go Luster Pendulum and pop like a Wisdom Eye, and then play Pendulum Call because you didn't use Wisdom Eye's effect, like you just got a +1 there for no reason, and then Pendulum Call will give you the extra scale that you're missing to go with the Luster Pendulum in the form of Dragon Pulse Magician. But then the other tuners are one Masquemillion and one X-Saber Palmero for the Nat Beast plays. I was manning a Gigabyte instead of this, but in like the Gigabyte was the theory was that I would side this and side Beast, and I would side them only for the mirror match. And I'd play Gigabyte, and the Gigabyte would inherently make my deck stronger against the mirror playing this card in the main deck. And if they made Nat Beast, Gigabyte plus Hat Trigger would give me a higher chance of being able to out the Nat Beast in an efficient manner, as well as Gigabyte extending my plays in rank 4s and all that. But it ended up being like I would find myself wanting this in the main deck to make the Nat Beast play if I lose the die roll going first in game 1, and I feel like I'm playing against Pendulum. Like if I feel like I'm playing a mirror, I would want to make Nat Beast, and if there's a way you can make Nat Beast and then protect it as well, like it's just always really strong. So instead of siding the cards, I just allocated them into the main deck and cut the Gigabyte because like it just didn't seem like it was necessary or worth. And then the last two monsters are 2 copies of Max C, just to be defensive cards. They're just really good this format because like this deck is insane, and if you're able to put up an established board and then Max C them, like you pretty much win on spot because they have to either give you tons of cards to dedicate resources into clearing your board, and by that time you could draw into like damage jugglers to live if they're trying to go for game shots, or even if they're capable of it. And then there's the like you have all those cards in your hand to break their board next turn, or they just stop and your board is so huge and so oppressive that you're just going to kill them. So that's it for monsters. That is 27 monsters. There are, I think, 12 spells. Yes? No? I'm not sure. I don't remember the count. Triple Pendulum Call. This card is actually just busted. Being able to like discard Damage Juggler and Trick Clown for it is actually just nuts as well. You just like you start the game with like 8 cards. Like that's insane. That's actually just amazing. Triple Wavering Eyes. I think this card sucks, but like you have to play it for the Pendulum matchups. Like sometimes it is relevant, like clearing your scale, like to clear Lusters out and stuff like that, and get searches for Lusters or whatever against non-Pendulum matchups. But if you draw this card and you're not playing against a Pendulum matchup, it actually just like isn't necessarily a combo card. It just depends on what the rest of your hand is to be able to shape it into a combo card. But like this card is just such a blowout in Pendulum matchups that I think that you just have to main it, at least 2 of it, so that you can have the ability to have it on a moment's notice. But this card is another reason why I really like playing this version of the deck now, is because like the regular Magician variants, they'd have Pendulum Call to play around Wavering Eyes, in terms of like your cards can't be destroyed, but that only plays around it for a turn. Whereas this deck, this specific build has access to Damage Juggler, and then you can also like Synchro into Stardust and stuff to make this card irrelevant. And then there's like a lot of other neat interactions that you can do to just play around this card with this specific build. Like this deck is just so much stronger against Wavering Eyes than any of the other Magician Pendulum variants that I've tested so far, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to play this build and test it and just like learn it. But I'm playing 3 copies of Brilliant Fusion. I am only playing 1 Garnet. I'm playing triple Brilliant Fusion because the math works out that with only 1 Garnet in your deck, you'll only draw it like 13% of your games, so 13 out of every 100 games. But the math on drawing Brilliant, but even if you draw the 1 Garnet, you can just like if you have any sort of hand that can Pendulum summon, you can Pendulum it out and put it under an Emerald. Do plays to put it under an Emerald and shuffle it back. But the raw math on the hypergeometric calculation for if you open going second, drawing 6 cards, to open both the 1 Garnet and one of your Brilliant Fusions, the absolute highest chance of that, of opening 1 Brilliant Fusion and the Garnet, is like 5.7%. So just under 6 out of every 100 games, and that's actually just like a really good chance, and like that's the highest percent you'll have, not withholding human factors and things like that. Of things aren't 100% random all the time, but it just makes it like it's really like I really like it. That's all I can really say. is that I really like it. I really don't like having garnets, like 2 of it, because you just draw it, and this card you never want to draw. So playing 1 of it means you like almost never draw it. But your chances of drawing that 1 garnet plus a Brilliant Fusion is actually just astronomically low. And like the chance of you drawing like double, I wouldn't even consider a hand with like a Brilliant Fusion and a garnet in it to be an auto loss, especially if like you're going second. Because if you're able to, like I've already said, establish a pendulum play and put the garnet back with like an emerald, then you can resolve this card, and it's actually amazing. The only thing I would ever consider like a possible auto lose hand is like double Brilliant Fusion plus the 1 garnet, because then you're just playing with a 3-card hand, and that makes it really hard for you to establish big pendulum plays and all that. But even that, like you only have, I think it's like less than a 1% chance to draw 2 Brilliant Fusion plus garnet. I can't remember the exact percent, but it is less than 1%, and that's in a 40-card deck, not even 37. So I mean, all of those factors just came together that just told me to, like, that I only wanted to play 1 garnet, because like I hate drawing this card. This card sucks. This card's absolute garbage. I mean, it just happens to be an Earth, so you can make Nat Beast with it. But I mean, other than that, it's just literally awful. 2 copies of Instant Fusion. If there was ever a card I could cut out of this deck to fit a 3rd in, I would definitely do so. I mean, I've debated cutting the 3rd Brilliant Fusion and swapping it out for a 3rd Instant Fusion, just to make Norden plays more active and live. But like, I didn't want to clog my extra deck with multiple copies of Norden. I wanted to just be able to extra deck 1 Norden and just see Instant Fusion enough of the time where I could just Norden and then like put it back on Ephemeral if I needed to use a 2nd Instant Fusion, because this extra deck is really tight, and I wanted to play a lot of really niche cards in my specific build. But last spell in the deck is the 1 Foolish, just to be another card to get to Plush Fire, Damage Juggler, Trick Clown. And then the only trap I run is Solemn Warning in the main. I feel like this card's a lot stronger than like Vanity's Emptiness at this specific point in time, because like Vanity, it just gets hit by the pendulums, the Magician Pendulum deck, because like most of the time, even if you're playing this specific build of Magician Pendulum, if you open any way to do like a Wisdom Eye play, you're usually putting Pulse and Dragon Pit in the scale, and so at that point, like, you have to just flip the Emptiness over, and then they'll just hit it with the Dragon Pit. Whereas like Warning, there are more chances for you to catch your opponent with the Warning, because you don't have to flip it preemptively, and you can just Warning their Pendulum Summon and like lock them out of the game, like just eliminate their resource pool and seal the game in your favor. So like this card just has a lot more chances to be good than Emptiness does right now, so that's why it's in the main and Emptiness is not. But for the extra deck, the extra deck for this deck is actually pretty tight, and there's a lot of cards I want to fit in, like Tolmaeus, Diamond, and all that, but I wanted to play other cards as well that I'm actually just playing. But for the Synchros, I play 4, 2 Ignister, Stardust, and the Nat Beast, to, you know, just do the thing with Palmero. There is a way you can make you can actually make Barkion if you use Palmero plus Seraph Knight, but like that almost should never come up, because the only decks you'd be making Barkion against are the decks that you want to stop their traps. And if you're trying to stop their traps, if you're in a situation where you're wanting to make Barkion, how are you feasibly resolving Brilliant Fusion for Seraph Knight, summoning King of the Fairy Lamps, searching Palmero, and then normal summoning Palmero and making Barkion? Like, that just doesn't make any sense. But yeah, so like that is a little cool thing that you can do, is you can play Barkion, but it just doesn't seem worth, because there's so much that you have to do in order to summon it, and by the time you're trying to summon it is because your opponent has trap cards and you want to be able to stop them. So like cards like just Dinko are better, so just not playing Barkion is just key. But the 2 fusions are Seraph Knight for the Brilliant Fusion and the 1 Nodin for the instant fusions. Pretty simple, pretty standard. For the Exceeds, Trapeze Magician, this card's actually just like broken. This actually might be like the best rank 4 in the game right now. Like the fact that you don't take damage is huge, like in the Cosmo matchups, unless you're taking an increment of higher than 2500. Like that's just always relevant. This card floats. When it gets destroyed, you summon like Plush Fire out of your deck, and that's really cool, because they either kill it and it goes to your extra deck to be a resource and then gets you another clown, or like they don't kill it and it just becomes further fuel for like Ignister plays during the next turn anyway. There's just a lot of factors that go into it, and like making anything attack twice is huge. Like I almost want to play like 2 of this card, but the extra deck is way too tight. Ragna Zero for the obvious Mirror Conductor interactions, King of the Fairy Lamps to search Mask Chameleon and Palmero, Castel, Diamond Dyer. Castel's kind of shitty right now. Every time I could go for Castel, there's usually a better play that involves you like making King of the Fairy Lamps and going for Ignister. Because if you're like Castelling a monster, like you're usually like you're in a losing position if you're not able to make Ignister, but you're just Castelling a monster. I mean, of course, if like you're killing them that turn, I guess it's fine. But usually, like, Diamond Dire is always the first go-to guy, because if you can make a rank 4 before you Pendulum Summon, you're going to make Diamond Dire pop itself to clear the zone out of your monster zone, and then pop their back row, and then Pendulum for as many monsters as you can. So Castell might end up getting cut, but I mean, I guess it's just there to out Floodgates. Usually Ignister is just always a better play if you have the option to make it. Magister Paladin to make the Ignister OTKs happen, and also just, you know, bypass the fact that you usually clear your scales in the Ignister plays as well. Like, that's just actually a thing. 1 Daigusto Emerald to put back Garnets and just resources and stuff. 1 Abyss Dweller, and then the 15th card in my extra deck is an Alchemic Magician. I really like this card. And like the ability to like set Wavering Eyes, especially if you already opened a Wavering Eyes, like that's actually just really good. Like if you open a Wavering Eyes and then like a way to make this card going first, like you can just make this and set a second Wavering Eyes from your deck, and so then your opponent literally has to have, like, if they're playing a Pendulum matchup, your opponent if they're playing a Pendulum deck and they have to play into Wavering Eyes, your opponent has to have their own Wavering Eyes plus a damage juggler, or they have to have 2 damage jugglers. They have to have like a combination of 2 different cards that like they have to use, and you usually made this for free with like Plush Fire interactions. If you're good, you like discarded like a Trick Clown off of it, or detached a Trick Clown from it. Sometimes you discard Damage Juggler to summon it, or to use its effect in the end phase, or you can just like keep the Damage Juggler in your hand to out like your opponent having like 3 possible answers to Wavering Eyes. But like you basically just auto win, because you just get to resolve Wavering Eyes for either 3 or 4, and you have 2 of them, and you're going to get a search for this, and you're going to force the Wavering Eyes through once you summon this card. So I just really think like the hands where you can't make Nat Beast are very few and far between, but like the hands that you can't make Nat Beast with, you can almost always make this, and this lets you set Wavering Eyes. And so any other like combination of a Damage Juggler in your hand, or if you have another Wavering Eyes, or hell, even if you have Warning, because like if you set the Wavering Eyes, like that, like you set it so your opponent knows where it is. So if they have MSTs or anything like that, they're obviously going to space this before they set up their scale, and then you can just hit them with Warning. There's a lot of different factors that go into it that just make it really cool and really good. And like every time I summon this card and actually use this effect to set a Wavering Eyes for my deck, like I've won every game that I can remember playing that I summoned this card in. Like, it's actually just very real. Like, I absolutely love this card. This card is absolutely just nuts. But anyway, yeah, that is the deck list. This video went on a little bit longer than I was expecting it to, strangely enough. But I mean, I guess I was just explaining things, but I don't even think I explained that much. I really like the amount of like different things you can do with this deck in the form of rank 4s, Ignister plays, stuff like that. Like, this deck is very versatile in like what it can do. But the Odd Eyes deck is as well. But this deck is just a little bit faster at achieving those goals. It's a little bit faster at achieving its win condition than the Odd Eyes version is, at least the Odd Eyes builds that I've been testing. But I do have some Odd Eyes builds that I might, you know, put it together, film, and put up on the channel as well a bit later, as well as some Magispector builds. I've got a lot of neat little Magispector ideas to use with the Magicians to like make the deck probably a little bit better at standing on its own. At least those are ideas that I think that I have. But anyway, that is all for this video. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the nonsense you usually do. Links are in the description to both my Facebook pages. If you want to chat with me, connect with me, whatever, definitely go check those out. That is what they are there for. Click on that if you have not. I greatly appreciate it. It helps me make money, and there's no reason to lie to you guys about that. If you have an ad block enabled, do me a quick favor and remove it. It takes seconds out of your day. It takes no money out of your pocket and helps me out more than you could ever understand. And you would have my gratitude, and I'd be greatly appreciative of you if that is something you could take the seconds out of your day to do, and then put the ad block back on when you are done. But if you have any other like decks that you want to see, I can try and put something together. So you can definitely leave a suggestion down below. But I mean, like, try to keep it at least semi-competitive, because that's all I really want to dedicate my time into. I mean, if it's like tier 2 or something, then I guess I could like mess around with it. But other than that, I basically want to stick to tier 2 and above. Like, if you're gonna tell me to play like Cyberdarks, I'm not gonna dedicate the time to that. But anyway, that is all for this video, and as always, guys, take care.